Chapter 937. Everyone knew that someone had to pay. Blood would spill when a man was angry. They were afraid that blood would wash the streets when a sanctuary-level cultivator was angry. They hoped they were not involved. Everyone felt frightened and anxious. They were cursing Samson, Sharon, and their ancestors inside. Tiff realized at that moment that drastic changes occurred in Aroma over the past few days. What the hell did this guy do to make a bunch of big shots kneel and quiver? Thought Tiff. She was confused, shocked, and puzzled. She looked at Wilbur in a daze. Wilbur said nonchalantly, "Don't be scared. I'm a fair person, and I don't like to harm the innocent." Everyone had to sigh in relief when they heard that. One of the owners went limp and fell to the floor. He was barely holding on, so he lost his strength when he sighed. Wilbur frowned and said, "Stand up, Samson Hunnard." Samson flinched and struggled to stand up straight. "You suspected that I cheated, and I can understand that. However, it's unforgivable that you hurt Tiff." Samson went pale. He shut his eyes in despair. "However, you regret your mistakes in time, released Tiff, and confessed to everything. I can spare you life because of that." Samson instantly opened his eyes. He bowed properly with tears in his eyes and said, "Thank you so much, sir." "Christopher," called Wilbur. Christopher stepped forward and lowered his body next to Wilbur. "Chop his legs off as his punishment." "Yes, sir." Christopher formed a long sword in his hand without hesitation, and he walked towards Samson. Samson expected such punishment, so he accepted his fate. Blood was spilled with a flash of the blade. Samson had his legs chopped clean off. He fell in a puddle of blood and said through a clenched jaw, "Thanks for sparing my life, sir." Tiff was shocked. She could not believe it. What was in Christopher's hand? "I can't believe he gets to decide the life or death of Samson Hunnard," she thought. She froze up like a statue as she looked at Wilbur in shock. She forgot how scared she was. Wilbur smiled at her. Then, he looked at Sharon and asked, "Any last words?" Sharon shook her head weakly. She knew that she was bound to die, so there was no use struggling. Wilbur nodded in admiration. He said, "It's good that you're dignified, but you have to pay for your mistakes, Christopher. Here, do it." "Stop torturing her," said Wilbur nonchalantly. Christopher nodded and walked toward Sharon. He lifted his long sword. "No." Sharon did not hold it together in the end. She had a meltdown because of the enormous fear, and she screamed as loud as she could. However, Christopher did not hesitate. He swung his blade, and blood splashed everywhere. Her head rolled toward Tiff. Tiff screamed and covered her eyes. Everyone was silent. Tiff finally dared to remove her hands after a long while, but she did not dare to look at what happened. Wilbur said slowly, "Tiff Kirk is my representative in Aroma from now on, and Christopher Yule will assist her. I will announce my rules in the future through her." Christopher immediately stepped forward and knelt on one knee in front of Tiff, greeting her with respect, "Miss Kirk." "Miss Kirk." All the casino big shots knelt and bowed to Tiff. Tiff was astounded. What was going on?